How's the juice?
It's good.
It is, right?
Yeah. Feels like it's right out the fruit.
It is kind of right out of the fruit. And right at the bottom, I don't know if we didn't shake it, but it has all the coconut meat.
Yes.
That's the best part. It's so hard to get coconut juice in anywhere like that. You tried mangosteen before, have you?
Mangosteen?
Steen? I think it's Steen or Steam, Steen or M. And I always talk about this, but it's like I actually had my first time in Thailand, and it looks like it looks like a little purple plum, but it's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
The outer layer is the texture, the consistency is almost like a really rough, brittle piece of wood.
Mm.
But when you open it up, it's all purple, and when you open it up, it's like this little white ball, and it's nice and juicy, and it tastes like a marshmallow.
Okay.
Like a juicy marshmallow.
Right.
And it is fucking delicious. It's so good. And my girlfriend actually ordered some, and then we ate it, but it was not the same because it's frozen, it's imported, and it's not gonna work out. But this is better than nothing, coconut juice. Okay. So we're on.
Excellent.
Yeah. So we're just doing some pre-prep talk.
Okay.
Getting everything ready. I think people can hear us. Cha 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 cha. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's just start the show. Okay.
Okay.
All right. It's how can I say?
Is it a tablet too?
Screen tablet, yeah.
Nice.
So I use it for drawing and stuff. Usually when I'm drawing, I just go like this and just
okay.
move all that.
So all this artwork is you?
Most of it, yeah, maybe 95%. The stuff that one up there, a friend of mine, Natalie, she made that before she left.
A lot of naked women in the same kind of genre here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. No.
Yeah, for people who don't know, I draw a lot of naked girls. To all my artist friends, like, yeah. But everyone knows, they come here. Like Albert, Escobedo, Sean, all the comedians.
Right.
They only know me through the comedy community, right?
Okay.
So when they come here, they don't say anything. They're like, oh, cool place. And then they go to stand up and like, yes, I went to Will's place. Will's place got a lot of boobies everywhere. I thought I was a pervert, but this guy draws his boobies. I'm like,
nice.
You bastards. And I'm like...
that is nice.
And then I was like, yeah, I think now I basically have the ability to look at anybody and I know what they look like naked, which makes it easier for me just to jerk off in public, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause what's the point, right? It's the same thing. So.
Nice.
I wish I had that ability though, to like for me, I cannot watch like hentai porn. Like Japanese porn.
That's one of my favorites.
I cannot, because when I see that stuff, I was trained as a classical animator, right? And then when you're doing an animated piece, 1 second is 12 pieces of paper, and for me to do like a 8-minute piece would take at least 2 or 3 months, right?
Wow.
It takes a long time. It's very laborious. You got to make sure everything's nice, clean it up, put all that shit there. Working all these hours, you're sleeping over there, you brought a microwave, you brought a sleeping bag, you're sleeping under your fucking animation table, and I'm thinking all this stuff when I'm watching those, hentai porn things, like there's some poor Japanese dude just like drawing like these perfect boobies and just like, I'm like, I just see the person behind the boobies, which is like this guy just drawing all these lines. I'm like, I cannot focus when I see something like that.
So is that the female body your mate? I guess your inspiration, I guess I could say.
I guess so.
I mean, everybody's got their, their foundation.
Well, what happened with these? Okay, for people who don't really know, like, I consider primarily myself as an artist, like drawing wise, and when I first came to, I had to talk about this with my brother. When I first came to Aurelia, or what am I talking about? When I first came to Korea, it's so funny now because I had such a huge talk with my brother. We like talked for like 3 hours. It was really interesting. But our first year, I lived in Itaewon Noksapyeong area. You know where Tony's bar is?
Tony's, no,
Tony,
I don't.
it's like, you know where McDonald's is at the
Right.
end, right? On the other side, there's like that small hill.
Oh, okay.
And you
Gotcha.
go up there and there's like Tony's, and I used to live right beside it. And beside it was like an Indian restaurant called New Delhi, or not even New Delhi, that's not even it. But it was an Indian restaurant. We lived on the second floor. Pretty shitty, right? Pretty shitty living standards. And when I first came to Korea, I was like, man, I just want to be an artist. You know, I brought like my book of like drawings, and I found this one local gallery. It was like a really, really small one, just like up the next alley. And I brought him my stuff, and I was so proud. And I was like, hey, do you want to check this out? And he was like, yeah, it's not that great. And then I was like, damn. And then I kind of went to all these places. I got turned down all the time. And
Right.
I was thinking, man, like I was getting depressed because
Right.
like this is what I wanted to do, and it's
Right.
not working anymore. And then slowly I was like, I need to find. I don't even know who to contact. I don't know what kind of community there is
Right.
up there. I started going to MySpace because it was still alive at the time before it became this neon cemetery. And then after I contacted a lot of people, then I found out about IAC, International Artist Community, which really helped, you know, gather and garner a lot of different artists to, you know, let them know what's going on in the loop. And then afterwards, slowly I started doing life drawing, going at Myeongdong, just doing for life drawing because that's one of the best things to do to practice. And of course, when you do life drawing, you have to draw a nude model, which is the best thing, and it's one of the most challenging things because you're drawing a person right in front of you. Sometimes you only have
They have that here?
yeah, dude, everywhere they have it in. But why? What
You
do you
get to
think?
draw beautiful Korean women?
Korean or women, or sometimes foreign women, or sometimes guys. It depends, you know. But
Lucky bastard.
no, you think like that. There's a lot of horror stories too. You know, like you'll see like my friends told me in Canada they were drawing. It's like, oh, it was terrible. There was this one lady. It wasn't bad because she was overweight. It was just bad because she drank a lot of milk, and it was summer out. You know, and it was so hot. And she had like a piece of cheese stuck on the back of her back. And
Oh,
stuff.
God.
But that's like a worst case scenario.
Right.
Here, it's pretty good. You know, everyone is
I didn't know Koreans were that open in their artistic.
That's an
avenue.
interesting insight. Yeah, I think it's a common thing. It's a very common element that you do in order to practice and improve your drawing. You know, there's still life, but it's much more different than life drawing because when you're life drawing, the human body is one of the most interesting and most complex things you can draw. You know, there's so much the sinew of bones and muscle, and the pose that they do expresses a certain story if that's what they're doing. If they're like really good, and you have to kind of look at that. You're not supposed to draw exactly what you see. You're only supposed to interpret what you see. So
Oh.
you're always giving your interpretation.
Well, I would love to get into that.
Yeah,
Give
yeah.
my interpretation.
No, like
I'm
you
just
think
kidding. I'm kidding.
you know, because many guys when they go there, they're just like, dude, how can you do it? Like I totally get a boner. I totally be rubbing my pee-pee by putting my knees together, locking them up like this, and just be like, yeah, it's okay. And then you get kind of nervous because you have to have a drawing at the end of the night, right?
I understand.
But I remember my first time when I did life drawing in school. My teacher's like, if any of you guys laugh, you get kicked out. That's it. You banned.
Wow.
And we're like, okay. And then it kind of built a very small anticipating, you know, moment. But when
Was
I
she
went
hot?
there, really beautiful, very voluptuous and stuff. I remember this one woman. She was actually a part-time, I think, stripper. I
Wow.
think she was black and very voluptuous, right? And then the thing was that she had like no fear. Like usually there's a lot of models. They'll just kind of like this. They'll never make eye contact. But
Oh, really?
This one lady, this one girl, like she see you like you're drawing. You have to look at them because
Right.
you're drawing. But you're looking at several, you know, parts of their body. Sometimes you kind of glance at their eyes, and if she sees you looking at her, she'll like pose and like just look at you, and then her legs are like in splits, just like looking at you, And then I was like, I can't handle this, man. How am I supposed to draw like this? This is so fucked up. And my black buddy Andre, he was like, he just look at her back. He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. Just like looking at her like this. And I was like, Andre, you're crazy, man.
That is classic.
And he's just like talking to her afterwards. Sometimes it'd always be a little bit taboo to talk to the models because, you know, they're there to. It's not a sacrifice of the body, but it's like an expression of their body and stuff. And I always appreciated that, and maybe it kind of made me into a pervert. You know, people think I'm a pervert probably because I'm drawing naked girls. I have naked girls all over. And I did not realize it. It does not face me as like being this weird thing because I'm like I did it like 3 hours every day for like years, you know, at school, and it was just a natural process to learn to draw.
But people don't understand that when you're drawing, it's art,
right?
And it's being nude. It's not being naked, and that understanding can be a little difficult for the layperson.
Absolutely, yeah. So but you know, I definitely recommend it to everybody to draw, and especially the nude body because it's a really unique atmosphere. You know, you can put on some music. Usually, the model brings their own playlist, and they have their own selective style, and they're trying to resonate and create an atmosphere. And it's always interesting to draw with a group of people rather than drawing by yourself, because drawing can always be a very isolating thing. Okay. You know, like you're always by yourself. You're drawing like that guy drawing the hentai, but if you're with a group of people, I don't know if it'd be good to get a group of people drawing hentai together, but just a group of people drawing together, the same model. At the end of the thing, you look at everyone's drawings. Everyone have this different interpretations. It's always interesting like that. And this is something I've been kind of thinking about now is we're losing that connection with pencil on paper, you know? Yeah. Just straight up drawing like that. And it's because, you know, technology, we're all typing and texting and all that stuff, that we're actually slowly starting to lose our personal expression. As something as subtle as that. So even signing your name on a card, right? When you do it, just like, whatever, you just fucking make a line and just like, okay, get the receipt, good. But I remember before I would really actually write my name. But that is the only time you're most likely to write, you know, unless your job is a computer job, you're just typing all the stuff. Sometimes comedians will write things, actors, you know, they'll write notes, things like that, like actual pencil and paper. And drawing is just one facet of that, right? Drawing is that times 100 possibly, you know? You're fully expressing yourself and, you know, trying to look deeper into what you see and that kind of stuff. So it's that's why it's one of those things for me. I can no matter what job I'm doing, if I'm going to be a teacher, if I'm going to be a janitor, what the fuck, anything, I'm going to be drawing on my spare time because that is an essential part of my routine of just, you know, being healthy, consciously healthy, I guess.
I won't say that I'm an established singer, but I'm a trained tenor. Right, okay. Sung in chamber ensemble and so forth. And I have the belief that any one person can learn to sing because your vocal cords are a muscle. Exactly. Is it the same way with art?
Oh, fuck yeah. It's like Picasso, that's the most famous quote. He's like, everyone is born an artist, just some people choose to stop. Wow, right? Nice. All drawings are never complete. They're always abandoned. You know, you never finish a piece. You just abandon it. And when should you abandon? When should you finish a piece? You should always finish a piece at the point where you feel like you should add just a little bit more, but you don't. You just like, you get that kind of feeling, okay, just leave it. Like that. Wow. Those are like the best moments when you're doing anything, you know? And exactly, it's like literally a muscle, like a vocal muscle when you're singing. Like, what are you exercising with your body when you're drawing? You're exercising your brain, you know? Like, you don't really need a lot. You just need a hand. Maybe you don't even need a hand. Maybe you need a foot. Maybe you can use your mouth, you know, just grab that shit, and then you can just draw whatever you want. Yeah, maybe it does take a little bit of muscle memory because you're understanding what it means to make a line. Because if you just make a straight line, that could have so many infinite possibilities based on what you're going to start that drawing with, right? And when in the beginning when you're drawing, you know, when you're a kid, you're brave. You don't give a shit, you know. You're just drawing what you feel, you know. When you see a person, it looks terrible, but when you see that, you're like, that's what a kid does, and they have so much conviction, and then we slowly build all these doubts, and then when we build these doubts, then we want to draw exactly what we see in reality, right? And that is one of the kind of a it's room for debate, but it's kind of one of those issues where that's not what you're not really supposed to do. You're just giving an interpretation, right? Because reality is like a shared realm of that we all look into, but then you have to give your own insight into what you see. That's why things like caricature can be very interesting, because it's not an exact portraiture of someone. It's just an interpretation of that person, and just exaggerating the elements, the physical parts, to reveal more of their inner personality, kind of a thing. Same thing with like singing. Like, I remember when I was in choir, like back in like elementary school, everyone did like choir kind of stuff. The most interesting thing I remember my choir teacher, she had on the wall was singing is praying twice, right?
Wow.
And I still remember that, and I remember doing that when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And I remember her just being very passionate, kind of being a bit, hey, you gotta do like this because you're doing as a group. Don't sing louder than the other person. You're like, it's hard to do that. Just like work as one organism,
right,
basically, and stuff. So I think it's just that expression overall, right? We're just how we express ourselves. It's always a muscle. Even singing is like conditioning the soul, making it work out. You're like singing, and your soul is this little tiny ball, and it's just like, fuck yeah, it's like doing tricep dips and stuff. You're like, yeah, you fucking sing that song, the shit out of that, hallelujah. You're like, oh, you're like so cathartic. You're like in church, like, oh, that was amazing.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyways, for people who don't know, we have Kahlid on the show. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Good to see you too.
It's good to finally have you on. Wow, that was quite a rant. Yeah. So today's Sunday. For people who don't know, we all survived the apocalypse. Congratulations to you. Congratulations to us.
Thank you.
This is the first podcast after the apocalypse.
Well done.
Wow, this is going to be amazing. Wow,
indeed.
This totally blew my mind. So,
nice.
What did you think was going to happen during the apocalypse?
You know what? To be totally honest with you, I was totally oblivious until I started seeing people's posts on Facebook.
Right. I
was like, the world was supposed to end yesterday? Really? And I didn't even do what I really wanted to do.
What did you really want to do?
I wanted to, go and, tell the girl that I love that I'm really in love with her and steal her from the guy that she's with and all that.
And then you're like, I'll do that later. Not worth it. Yeah. The world at an end.
So I'm glad it didn't happen, because I would have probably disappointed myself and crawled up in a fetal position and
or just take a boombox and just raise it up in
yeah,
front of her.
Exactly.
She's on the 9th floor of the apartment, just outside in the cold.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off type of thing. That would be perfect. That's a perfect song going.
Yeah, I guess what happened? People just thought something was going to happen, and I was thinking like I wrote a few posts online. I was like, what if the world was already in the apocalypse, and 2021 of December was the reset that made everything back to normal.
Ah, nice.
How fucked up is everything now? Just days before that, every time we see it, there's like a school shooting, there's like tsunamis and all that stuff, and then we just always trying to pinpoint to something, to this omega point that's supposed to be happening. And I remember when I was young, I used to be so fucking obsessed with 2012. December 21st. I remember I found that out when I was like 16. I was just like I forgot how I found out, but I found out somehow. And then I was reading all these things with my Internet Explorer, this really shitty computer. Napster was still going on. ICQ was still there.
Napster. Oh my god.
Remember Napster?
That is unbelievable. Wow.
Do you ever use ICQ?
ICQ. No.
It was kind of like MSN Messenger. For me, it was like ICQ, MSN Messenger, and then Facebook, I think. Something like that. Yeah, and then I remember when I was like so young and I was like reading all these things, and it was like all these different theories. On December 21st, this human solstice, alignment of all these 3 planets will align on top of the pyramids, and then the hands of the dead, phoenix of the fucking Cleopatra rise up above the earth. I'm like, holy shit! This is only 10 years! What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Oh!
That's hilarious.
But essentially, thinking about that, it helped me make a 10-year plan.
Really?
With my life, yeah. Because I based everything on that date. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to, work in drawing by that time. I'm going to make my stories. I'm going to bubble do this, da, 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 da. And, yeah, maybe 4 out of 5 ain't bad, And it was like, hey, but, the world didn't come to an end, right? So it's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm still good. I still got fucking time.
I got time.
Yeah, so that's the thing, it's all good.
That's funny. That is hilarious.
Yeah. So, thank God for that. Yeah, so, but did you know anything about the December 21st before it actually happened?
I never knew.
No one told you this.
No one ever spoke about this.
How dare you, people?
I've always heard things about, what's that guy's name? Confucius and... Nostradamus. I said Confucius. What am I thinking here?
Confucius is the guy who's like, man who drop watch in toilet bound to have shitty time. Baseball is wrong. Man with 4 balls cannot walk.
Nice. Yeah, Nostradamus is who I met.
One more. Man who win diarrhea lottery, Winnie the Pooh. Continue, please.
But I've never heard about the Mayans, so I was like, really? That was supposed to happen?
Yeah.
And all my friends on Facebook were like, that was anticlimactic, blah, 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 blah. I was like, whatever. Do you really think one person would actually know if the world was going to come to an end?
It was actually supposed to be a group of Mayan Aztecs, and what they did was during that time they were always obviously making calendars based on the rotation of the alignments of all the stars and stuff, and then during their own personal calendar, that was the ending point for theirs. So if anything, it wasn't supposed to be the end of the world. I mean, the end of the world, I think, was more of a Western idea of like things will come to an end, which I think is basically impossible, because the world didn't come to an end when dinosaurs died. It just re-evolved into itself. And then if anything, if the world came to an end, meaning that there would be absolutely no more humans at all, there could be something completely different that would evolve from our fucking bodies and fossil fuel, because we eat too much McDonald's and we just become like fossil fuel for like these,
right.
3-legged, 4-headed, aliens, and just like, look at these, specimens we found on the ground. They drink too much Pepsi Cola and double down KFCs and all this shit like that. So, yeah, but yeah, it was such a interesting moment that it became so anticlimactic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking maybe it is we have reached an invisible apocalypse. That could be it. We don't even know what it is yet, but it could just be it. You're familiar with like Haruki Murakami?
Who? I thought this was an artistic podcast. You're talking about alignments and planets. You're kind of smart, Wilfred. I don't know about this.
Everything I said is not true, by the way. I just made all this shit up. Friday was just Friday.
You said rookie what?
You said rookie what? What did you say to me? There's a Japanese author who Alec Minero hates. Just giving you a shout out there, Alec. You hate this fucking guy. He writes, just I guess he's considered to be one of the most famous, popular, debatable authors in Japan. Mm-hmm. And he's slightly well known in the States and beyond. And he wrote an interesting article. His stories are kind of like quasi metaphysical, where it feels a little bit real, but then there is these little shifts in tone and situations where it kind of feels a little bit dreamlike. Mm-hmm. He has that kind of little bit weird, almost kind of David Lynchian, but not that dark, not that weird. And he was talking about ever since September 11 happened, nothing was ever the same, because we possibly went through a different parallel, a different moment. We stemmed off to where we were supposed to go. So we were in the post 9/11 world, mm-hmm. and since then everything started becoming a little bit outrageous, a little bit more exaggerated, a little bit more ridiculous in a way. Just in terms of how our culture is and you know, even September 11 like really affected comedy and humor and stuff, you know, and how it is, and I don't think it made racism any better either. You know, it's just we totally just shifted everyone into this new path, this new dimension, and we've never been the same. So maybe same thing could possibly happened on Friday, and we don't even know. You know,
interesting.
But the thing is, like, the apocalypse is fucking everywhere, man. Like, if you go to like places in like in India, Afghanistan, Africa, you know, there's people like they have shit there. You know, they have nothing. You know, that the world is completely imbalanced. You know, it's just here. We're just like, it's okay, but we're just like a borderline away from having the apocalypse. You know, for us.
Wow.
And we won't even realize it maybe one day if that just happens. You know, we're just like, you know. North Korea just keep on like shooting missiles, and then we're just like, whatever. And we do that because South Koreans do that. They don't give a shit.
Good point.
You ever see that? You ever had that moment as a foreigner? You're in Korea, and then suddenly you just hear,
yeah,
and you're like, holy shit, it's happening! And then everyone's just like playing Anipong and just playing games.
They just go along with their everyday life.
And then you're like genuinely concerned, and you ask your friend if you're school or work, or like, hey, is this okay? Is this normal? And they're just like, just like laughing at you, just like, oh, you're so cute. Yeah, a little. Don't worry. Just keep teaching kids, you know. And then your kids are complaining and fucking around. You're just like, you hear this sound, you're like, oh my god, like this is like the sound from Silent Hill or something like that, and you're just freaking out. So that's why I don't teach kids anymore.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
Yeah, but. Speaking of lucky, you got a couple of things going on. By the way, congratulations on doing a lot of different films this year.
I appreciate it.
You've been mad busy, which I
have.
Always respect, and I really appreciate it. You've had a lot of appearances, and you did a lot of new shorts that you're going to be starring in with Paul's.
That is correct. Erebus Films.
Yeah, Erebus Films.
Midway Round is
Midway Round. So what's Midway Round about?
It's about a young man whom I play. His name is Evan.
Okay.
And he came home one day, and his girlfriend walked out on him. She left him a Dear John letter. And he has to decide within himself how he's going to survive by just making decisions on his own. Because it's no longer we, it's just me. And it's been hard for him. It's hard for him to try and figure that out because he's been with someone for 8 years.
Right.
So all odds are against him, and he's his emotions are constantly in a shift, and he's around his friends, and he's realizing that he doesn't want to be where he is, and he has to make a final decision. And that final decision, it's metaphorical, but it's also literal in what you see in the film. So it's I enjoy the way Paul wrote it. It's gonna be I feel it's gonna be. I saw a few of the shorts or some of the clips from it last weekend, and it looks pretty good. So.
Awesome. So. For example, for that particular role, right, to work as that actor or to work as that character, rather, how do you prepare for something like that? I mean, for example, when you're reading the script, do you like? Sometimes you do start to resonate those emotions because you're actually trying to get into it as much as you can. But besides from that, when you're actually done the script, like how do you associate, you know, your own personal experience with the character to make it as believable and honest as you can?
A lot of times people tend to forget what they ask actors to do. You're laughing in a film, you're crying, you're afraid because the actor's a murderer or a rapist. And we as actors, we kind of have to be just a little bit crazy to be an actor. Because we have to take everything that we've ever experienced and bring it all back to the forefront. So that time when that girl dumped me, when I was 13, I had to bring all that back. When I was 21... last week, stuff like that. Stuff like that. I gotta bring all that back.
Were you shooting that day too? Yeah, baby, I'm working.
So yeah, I have to bring all those emotions back, and I have to break down the script as much as I possibly can, and ask myself, why are these things happening to this character? How would I, as a person, react? How do you think the character would react? Because sometimes it might not be the same thing.
Right. And in terms of like backstory for the character, the stuff that isn't in the story itself, but the stuff that you need for yourself as an actor, how much do how does that work? I mean, do you start creating that own life on your own, or like, I mean, there must be a certain amount that maybe the writer or the director might know, but how does that work compared to what you feel, you know, you can contribute in terms of backstory?
I do as much as I possibly can. Paul gave us the 45 questions.
Oh, wow.
Which were, what's the actor's last name? Where did they grow up? And you had to fill all this stuff out. And that can be a little bit difficult for me. So I prefer to just look at the script and just ask why, and just break it down as much as I can. Why is he doing this? If he's doing this, is he doing this in a club scene, or is he doing this at home? Because the scenery changes everything.
Exactly.
You know, and if he's doing it in a club scene, why is he at the club? Is he at the club because it's something that he does often, or is he just blowing off steam? Is he waiting for a hooker? All these things, I'm constantly just asking myself why. And sometimes that can be a little difficult for me because I'm very much a linear thinker. I like things to operate A, B, C. But as an actor, you can't do it that way. Sometimes you're thrown into a scene.
Right.
And you gotta figure out what the beginning and what the ending of the scene is, especially here in Korea, because they don't give you the whole script all the time, you know. So that's how I do it.
So even in those parts where, you know, it's really hard to actually shoot, you know, sequentially.
Right.
So you have to actually, in a way, kind of map out the emotional beats.
That is correct.
You could be actually doing the final scene on the first day or something.
Exactly, and that for me makes acting difficult.
And you're editing too in that way, right? You're
right.
basically editing.
That's
the
a good
first
point.
editor.
I didn't even think of it that way. Yeah. That is a very good point.
God damn
you know, because sometimes you're thrown into different scenes. Like we did the ending scene the day before we did the beginning scene for Midway Round. Oh, wow. You know, and Paul had us literally climb Tobong-san, a mountain, and it's 2.5 hours up the mountain, you know, and I'm out of breath, I'm sweating, but hopefully the view and everything else will be perfect for the scene. Yeah. But it can be, you have to remember the entire script and you have to see everything as a whole, right, so that you can get that done.
Wow. And it's interesting when you have scenes like that because you are physically, literally doing something that actually pushes out honest. You know,
exactly.
Because you're like, I'm fucking tired. Like, you don't need to spray, you know, shit on me.
Exactly.
And then when you're at the top, you're like, oh, this is so good.
And it was a beautiful scenery. Yeah, it really was. And I'm glad that I did it because it pushed me out of a comfort zone. But I have realized a few things since I've been trying to come out of comfort zones. Number one, I'm not a hiker, not a camper. That's not my thing. Number two, I don't really like theater that much. I just did a musical. Yeah. And it's not that I don't like it. It just doesn't appeal to my impatience the way film does. Film, you can get in, cut, do it again, boom. With theater, you build and build and build and practice and practice and practice, and then boom, there's this one big explosion of a show for 2 or 3 days, and then it's all done. Wow. And unless you taped it, you never see it again.
So and what is it about the theater aspect that you don't like? Because
that build.
Okay.
I have to constantly work. You got to go to practice. But in film, you know, we'd still do practice. Yeah. But if something goes wrong, cut, just do it again. You know, so, and that appeals to me a lot more. But I had to come out of a comfort zone because I hadn't sung in front of a group of people in over 10 years. So that was really nerve-wracking. And I had to dance. So I was like, oh my God, my lard ass. You know, I'm up there trying to dance.
How's you dancing these days?
It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But it served a purpose for the play.
I see. So, wow. I really want to see this. What is it? What was this play?
It was called Night at the Paradise. It was written by Grace and Dawn. Well, actually, Dawn wrote it, and Grace, she was the choreographer for it. Okay. And they contacted me and invited me to the audition because they knew that I had a voice. I was like, okay, yeah, let's try this because I tried it because it scared me, and
That's great.
I take my cues from Shia LaBeouf. He said, I am not going to work anymore unless I'm terrified. And I like that.
Yeah.
Because you want to be pushed.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be.
I used to hate being scared, but I kind of like it. You know?
Really?
It makes me excited. When I'm confused, I get excited. I think I kind of use that as well whenever I'm doing stand-up. Because
nice.
I have this kind of persona of being very introverted and like, hi.
Yeah.
And then when I do that, most people when they do stand up, they're very loud and not just rambunctious or just very extroverted. So then if I have a completely different dynamic, it's just like, oh my God, it's this guy's first time. Like it really builds a very high pressure with everybody because it's just like, oh, is this? People want you to do good. You know,
right.
they sometimes they pay it if they don't. They just want to see a good show. And then if you build this type of pressure upwards, people will kind of slightly listen more, especially if your voice is just a little bit lower. And then you just say something ridiculous and like, oh, that was interesting. And they're like, next joke. Something nice. Like that. Yeah. So you're talking about comfort zones and stuff, and I think just living in Korea is a huge change of comfort
Indeed.
zone. So living in Korea as a foreigner, let alone working as an actor, how has this process been for you from the beginning? Like, if you think about when you first came here and where you are now, how did this all work? What was it like?
Oh my goodness!
Process?
When I first landed in Korea, I was like, I cannot believe the most I had ever done was went to a different state. I'm now in a different country.
Yeah.
So that in itself was just amazing. Getting on the plane was amazing because it was the hugest plane I've ever seen. Korean Air was just absolutely the biggest thing. So I land and I meet a friend, and her name was Suzanne, and she was also an actress. And she said to me...
Coincidentally?
Yeah, I met her like 2 months after I landed in Korea.
Oh, okay.
At a club.
All right.
And she said, you should put your information on Facebook. Well, excuse me, Craigslist. So I put my picture and my resume up, said I wanted to build my reel.
Yeah.
And a young man, his name was Ross Barnett, called me up and said, we like the way you look. I'm a young director. Let's do a short film.
Awesome.
And that was the first short film that I ever did. And from there, I said, oh my God, I'm actually doing a short film. And you know how Yahoo does, well, unless you specifically do it, you don't delete any of the messages that you send. I was going through those messages and I saw the message I sent to my sisters and I was like, I'm going to be in my first movie. Holy shit. Oh my God. And from there, I started connecting with some of the major players here in Korea. Vadim Seletnev, my friend, oh my goodness, I forget their names now. My agents, they're gonna hate me for that. But I started sending my resume and my picture, and people just started calling, on a regular basis. And I was like, I work at a school. Can you work me on the weekends? And they're like, okay, no problem. And then all of a sudden, my first feature film came along, which was Soyuki Returns.
Okay.
And I got to play I got lucky that Obama had just gotten in to the presidency.
Oh, really?
Because I got to play the American representative.
Oh,
so they were like, everybody on the set was calling me Obama for that day. So I was like, okay, you know what? Because it's my first feature film, I'll take it. No problem. I don't care what it is. And from there, it just started building. People just started calling and calling. And I got into TV spots like OCN's, oh my goodness, 10 Drama. And then Mr. K, Kamgi, and Kamunui Guihwa are the 3 that I did this year. And then next year I'm starting the year off strong with Queen of the Night, doing a part in that film. So it was a build. And that first year was a very patient year. Yeah. Because no one knows who you are. Yeah. And you're constantly trying to do things different to get yourself known. And then once I did figure out how to make myself known, demo reels started coming up, IMDb pages, business cards, and so forth. So I started pushing myself forward here. But in the Korean market, it's difficult because if you don't speak the language, they always want to put you in foreign type roles. So I constantly try to learn my Korean as best I can. And, if they give me the Korean a month ahead and I can practice it a little bit, I'll be fine. I can read Korean and speak it enough that if I get enough practice, I'm good to go. But the Korean industry is very, very supportive in your dreams, and they're always helping in any way that they can, especially my agents, to make sure that, hey, that I'm constantly doing stuff here in the country.
Right, interesting. Have you ever seen the movie Mambo Kings?
Mambo Kings.
It was it was Antonio Banderas' first film.
Really?
His first Western English film. And when he first got that role, he did not know a lick of English.
Really?
So he learned that entire script phonetically.
Oh,
everything that if you watch that movie, Mambo Kings, that was his first movie, in English based. He did not know what he was talking about, and he was like saying everything phonetically. So you see this guy like, oh, he was great. It's like this guy's thinking, I don't know what the fuck I'm saying right now. But from there, he started going into like being this cool, suave guy, the desperado,
right?
Which one of my favorite roles for him and stuff. And it's so interesting how we come from small beginnings and then things keep growing and stuff. And let alone doing that in Korea, because sometimes I had a conversation about this earlier before, but it kind of feels like as a foreigner, you want to do what you want to do, but sometimes it does feel like there's a slightly bit of a roof on top of your head.
Sometimes, yes.
Because there is a particular system of how things work, and as a foreigner, meaning you're not from Korea, specifically, and having some type of setbacks like not understanding the language at all, or even when you do to a certain point, you can get good, but there's always this kind of standard or this kind of guideline or this kind of point that you reach and stuff. So despite that, everything that you've been doing, which you've been doing a lot here, and then when you leave Korea, how can you take everything that you've had and bring it to a new place? Like, do you find that easier, or do you find that more difficult? Do you feel like, oh, I have to like start again from the bottom? Or
no matter how high I get here in Korea, once I get to America, I still have to be at rock bottom. It doesn't really matter unless at some point some major director from America comes over here, or I get into a movie with like Park Chang-wook, who did Old Boy and coming out with the new Stoker and stuff. Unless I get a named director or something like that, you're definitely at rock bottom. And even if you do get a named director, you still got to work it from rock bottom. But what you can do, you can take all the experience that you've had and look at your casting agent and say, I've spoken Korean in a feature film. Not an independent, not a short film in America, but a greenlit feature film that if the director wanted to could send it off as a in the competition for a foreign Oscar or something like that, And no matter what you do, you just have to make sure that you're proving your acting ability. I've learned never to try and prove the movie, never try and prove the director. Always prove your acting. If they see that you can act, no matter what, you're going to be able to move forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of times I see shows and my friends say, oh man, that was such a great show, but it was only one season. I'm like, it doesn't matter. That guy that did that show, he proved his acting ability. And because of that, he got into a different show. And that show lasted for 7 or 8 years. And that's what I want to do when I'm here in Korea. I want to prove my acting ability so that when people see my work, they can say, okay, it may have been in Korea, but that kid can act. So let's use him in this and see where he goes.
So, as an actor, obviously you've started gathering, growing a lot more experience, a lot of techniques. When you're now where you are now, does those techniques, have you learned more techniques, or is it just refining of those abilities? Or?
I constantly learn.
Yeah.
And the more I learn, the less I know. It's unbelievable. Right now, I am in training with the director from Night at the Paradise. Her name is Ann Fleischer. Shout out, Ann. And she does training with me once a week on monologues. And she's the one that taught me about the why process, on how to break something down and figure out why you're doing this. Why are you talking right now? Why are you initiating a conversation with the character that you're with? And that was something that I really needed. I really needed someone on the outside looking in. But the books I've read, Sanford Meisner on Acting, The Dream of Passion by Lee Strasberg, The Actor Prepares, Konstantin Stanislavski, all this stuff is stuff that I accumulate and just grew into my repertoire and started using that with the stuff that I'm learning now. So sometimes it's a bit of refining the process, and sometimes it's, oh, I didn't know that, so let's put that into the bucket also and use that.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and it can seem like it's such an easy thing, such as like always asking why. But it's like you never really say what. Like you have to be like a 3-year-old kid, like, knowing your parents, like why, and the director's like, shut the fuck, just we'll do it live. Fuck this, we'll do it live. That kind of a thing. And I remember too when I was doing animation, we had an acting course because they always said that like animators are actors that can draw, because not only are you acting, you're acting through drawing, right? So every time when you're drawing a one piece of paper out of 12 to make 1 second, each of those lines have to represent a specific entity or character, and each of those pieces of paper have to make it look like that character is existing, has a consciousness.
Oh wow.
And you have to do that like so slowly, right? And then you have like an 8 or 10 second clip, right? And then you have to act this out for like a month. Just like a month of doing like 8 seconds, and you're like listening over again. I remember I did one line from I did a few lines, and maybe I can show later, but I never got a job as an animator because of my choices as an actor. Like I had one where it was like a Smurf. I made a Smurf character, and he was like crying, and I took a line from Viggo Mortensen, and he was in Carlito's Way, and he was like the guy in the wheelchair, right? And then there was a part where he's like, I mean, look at me, man. And look at me, wearing diapers, man.
Oh wow, yeah. I remember
and
that,
I was like watching, like, this is such an amazing point. Like this is the guy who did Lord of the Rings. Right. Like this guy is like talking about like shit my pants, man. I can't walk, I can't hump, And I was like, oh my god, I gotta use this as an animation. And then I did this, and then my teacher was like, yeah, that's a good one, but you're not gonna get a job with this with this clip. It's kind of fucked up. And then I was like, okay, I'll do another one. And then I had one. I had Glenn Ross, Alec Baldwin. What's your name? Fuck you, that's my name. And then I was like, what about this one? They're like, no, what are you doing? It's like, what are you doing, bro? But in terms of like making like an acting reel or portfolio, like what is the best way for people who want to be actors? How can they prepare for something like that?
First and foremost, good headshots. Don't skimp on your headshots. I've skimped on my headshots before, and I see the difference now. Cheap headshots and good headshots. So pay anywhere from $450 to $600 and just get some good headshots. Next thing, find an actor to help you, hopefully an experienced one, and get a good resume built. It doesn't matter if you've never acted before. And the reason it doesn't matter is because your life experiences will help you as an actor. You've been through something. Everybody has. Everybody's cried, been frustrated, agitated, angry, joyful, happy. There's something that you can bring to the camera.
Right.
The next thing, read, self-educate. I chose this path to come to Korea because I did not want to audition and go to some of the major schools, the big schools like New York, or the school like my friend Suzanne got into, Pace. Those are two of the top 10 schools in the U.S. for acting.
Right.
But I didn't want to pay all those loans. I got myself out of debt, and I didn't want to go back in. So self-educate as much as you can, and find people that you respect in their acting ability and their directing ability, and have them train you, Because one thing about acting, there are different avenues that you can use to get into it. The Rock used wrestling. I'm using Korea. Some people use modeling. It's just different ways that you can get in. And the last thing, if you want to be an actor, get in front of the camera and just do it. Because no matter what, you're going to fuck it up.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, you're going to fuck it up. With experience, you're going to fuck it up. That's what good directors are for, to help you, guide you. That's what learning and self-educating yourself is for, so that you know when you make a mistake, you can change it. So get in front of the camera and just do it. You can't sit behind the camera and say, I want to be an actor, I want to be an actor. You got to get in front. No matter... I hate the way I look on camera right now. That's part of the reason I'm going to Thailand, so I can drop some weight, because I cannot stand the way I look on camera. But I'm still in front because I know that's where I want to be.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's you have to make as many mistakes as you can. You have to do that first. Like I remember telling you, like, even when you're learning Korean or you're teaching English, it's like everyone's gonna fuck up. So you have to take all that shit out. You know? And then after you're like, okay, I fucked up already as many times as you can. Like, I remember when I was doing, it's kind of like jujitsu. When I was taking jujitsu, I got choked out so many times. You know,
great technique.
Yeah, and then the thing is like, I tapped out in so many different ways that obviously you're gonna get frustrated because you know nothing, and then the other person knows more than you. But you'll learn physically as well. Oh shit, no, don't do this. No, reverse. And you're doing this, and then you start to avoid those things, and then you can slowly find new paths and avenues like you said, to go into it. So that's so interesting. You know, like you have to. Again, it sounds so easy, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I guess what is the biggest demotivator, like for just people not doing it? Is it just like fear and laziness, or like
it's a combination of fear, laziness. For me, it was the thought that acting is it's too big. It's too much of a fantasy and not enough of a reality. But when I look on Korean posters and I say, oh my God, I acted with him in Kamgi. Oh my God, I acted with her in Mr. K. She was in Sympathy for Lady Vengeance. Right. And I'm seeing all these people. I'm like, these are known actors and actresses. And sometimes it helps that I don't know who they are, so I'm not starstruck. Right. And that helps with in being able to act natural when I'm around them. But it's a combination of fear, laziness, and just the awe of acting. But people have to understand, only 2% of all actors make over $100,000 a year. If you get into this, you cannot get into it for the money. You have to get into it because you enjoy how people make you feel when great acting is shown in front of you, and you want to provide that for other people.
Right. Oh, so have you ever been starstruck before by any person in particular?
I met Danny Glover when I was in college, and to say that I met him is a little misleading because I just shook his hand. Yeah. And there were so many people. He was tired. He had just come from speaking at the UN, and he came to my college, the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. Shout out! He came to my college, and he did the poems of Langston Hughes. It was amazing. Wow! And because I was the intern for the student activities office, I got to meet him and shook his hand and everything. But he was so tired. If he remembers anything from that night, I'd be surprised. But that was the time I was starstruck the most. Yeah.
Wow, very cool. So, you actually just mentioned a little previously that you're heading to Thailand. So
yes.
What's your plan? What are you going to do there?
Muay Thai training.
Just straight up Muay Thai?
Muay Thai. Wow. 6 days a week, morning and night.
God damn.
6 hours a day, and I did it for 2 months 3 years ago.
In Thailand?
In Thailand, at the same gym that I'm going to.
Okay.
And I told the coach, I was like, I am coming back. I lost 50 pounds in 2 months.
Holy shit!
Yeah, it was so worth it.
Wow.
But it's a combination of toning up the body, learning a martial art, which is always helpful for acting, and then just having a vacation because I haven't went on vacation in 3 years because I've been saving up for this one trip.
Holy cow! So, So how's your Muay Thai? Like when you go there, do you ever do any fights or anything like that?
You can if you want to, and more than likely I'm going to get my ass kicked. Yeah. But I'm
that's
looking
a good
forward...
acting experience there too, right?
I'm looking forward to getting in the ring and getting hurt, and my coach, I like him because he looks at us and says, when you do your first fight, I don't want you to win. Is what he would tell every fighter that comes in. I want you to lose because you learn more when you lose than when you win. I was like, wow.
And then you're like, game over, man. Game over.
That's a humbling experience.
Yeah, definitely. Wow.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to getting out of here. I've been, honestly, teaching English has been the longest job I've ever held. 3 years I've been teaching English.
Congratulations.
When I was with all my previous jobs, the longest I've held a job was 2.5 years. So teaching English is the longest job I've ever had, and I'm so tired of teaching right now. So I'm really ready for Thailand, and hopefully I'll be heading out March 1st.
So what did you like the most, and what did you hate the most about teaching?
I hate the most students who don't come to class prepared. I used to have students who wouldn't even bring a pencil to class.
What are the age groups that you're teaching?
That was middle school.
Okay.
And they really frustrated me.
Yeah.
But I love the most when I have students that want to learn. They're excited. They're happy to see me. Doesn't matter what my day's like. When I walk in the room, they're like, "Oh my God, Teacher K's here!" And they're raising their hands. They're answering questions. And the one thing I love more than that is the quiet kid that sits in the back, who never spoke at the beginning of the year, starts speaking near the middle or the end of the year.
That's is really always cool. A big challenge like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, very cool. Wow. So I guess, so now that you've done the teaching part, like you must have done like a whole bunch of different types of jobs and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of getting those experiences, how can I say? Getting all those different experiences, like, and translating that into acting. What is there anything that you would want to do that you think would help you as an actor? In terms of
nice.
Instead of like a specific job.
A specific job. Wow. I don't know. Maybe, you know what? Yes. Whenever you have a prize fighter?
Yeah.
They always have that one person that they train with on a regular basis,
right.
the punch-in dummy.
Yeah.
That person has to know how to fight at a good level in order to prepare the prize fighter for their next match.
Right.
I would like to be that person. I want to be that dummy.
Really?
Yeah, I think that would be a cool job to have. I could help the fighter, whether he be a Muay Thai fighter or a mixed martial artist, and I can use my acting ability, and I can say, okay, who are you fighting? I'm going up against this person. Okay, I'm going to use my acting ability to mimic the way they fight, so that when I step in the ring with you, you know what to expect. I think that would be a cool job.
Wow. Good luck, man.
I know, right?
Maybe you can do that when you go to Thailand. You never know.
That would be cool. I would get hurt, but it would be cool.
It's not fun to get punched in the face, man.
It's not, but it's a learning experience.
Yeah. Learn the hard way. God damn it. Jesus. Oh, man. So, as an actor, you're constantly learning. You're constantly observing every single day. What are some interesting observations that people can do to improve their acting? Like, for example, one thing I remember was our animating teacher, Brian LeMay. He took us all out of class and we walked all the way downstairs to the first floor where there was like the cafeteria, the coffee shop, and just all other students from the entire school. And he made us just sit on the sides and just watch people walk. And he's like, you guys, your homework today is you got to watch people walk. And the thing is, you got to look at their center. The center is like their momentum of movement. Because as an animator, when you're looking at the momentum, the center can be high up above their chin, which that's where garners all that momentum and energy, or sometimes it's really low, maybe for like a girl or something like that. And then you have to start thinking, it's like, what is the center for a blind person? How do they start going? Is it on their feet, or is it like on their face? So stuff like that. Like, what are some interesting things that people can maybe like learn or observe people to get stuff?
It's very similar, because when I'm on a subway and when I see people now, I think to myself, ooh, he'd make a great Lex Luthor. Oh, she'd look good in this role or something. That's all I see when I look at people now.
That's interesting.
So I'm looking at their jawlines, their foreheads, their noses, their waistlines, their legs, their tits, whatever it is. And I'm like, man, you would do good in this role or that role, or you would look good in this role. When I see special ed people, I look at the way they walk, why their hands seem cramped, when a person's in a wheelchair, how they steer, the wheelchair and everything. You know, I'm always touching things, feeling how smooth they are, how rough they are. I'm smelling things to see, to get that sense memory of smell. You know, it's always around me. Acting is forever around you, and you just have to know how to open your eyes and see when it's there. You know, so it's always it's a constant thing of observing and looking at the way people act. Why do you act this way? Why do you seem dorky to people that are this type of people, but you seem normal to others? You know, how are you dorky? Is it the way you laugh? Is it because you giggle a certain way, or you snort when you laugh, or the things that you say, you're stating the obvious, or you bluntly say that, oh, you wore that last week, or something like that. It's different things like that I'm constantly noticing about folks.
So, you know, as an actor, you know, that's like your primary thing. So, doesn't that, you must have like a really good ability just to like look at someone and just break them down. You know what I mean?
It's amazing because I look at people and I'm like, you're hurting left leg, or something's bothering you in your right arm, or you're very tired right now, but you're holding back, or the expression that's on your face is not the expression, or is not the emotion that you're actually conveying to everyone right now. You know, learning to read people it's dangerous, and sometimes it's dangerous because when you're with your friends and you're like, hey, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong. You're lying to me. Something's wrong. Oh, God, will you stop? Just stop and leave me alone. You know, sometimes
you seem angry.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes it can be a little bit irritating to people that you know and people that you care about, and to strangers. And you're like, you know, I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't seem that way with your body language and stuff like that. And sometimes people can be like, oh, that's a little uncomfortable when you do that. You know, so you got to be careful with it.
Yeah, and I guess that's one of the things, you know, us as just humans, we are always very inconsistent with what we're thinking and what we're saying.
Exactly.
And stuff. We're always like so much different subtext and context underneath. Wow. I gotta start looking at people differently now.
It's a learning process, and I'm not saying that I'm great at it. I'm not Monk or, you know, Simon Baker from The Mentalist, you know,
or
stuff
Tim
like
Roth
that.
and Lie to Me.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm nothing like that. But when I look at pictures, like the pictures you have on your wall, you know, I'm seeing depression or this person might be hiding.
There's a picture of me masturbating. And I used my webcam. I'm like,
you know, I'm
right beside my parents.
Seeing hiding people's emotions are hiding, or the smile looks fake or whatnot. You know, so like the picture, this beautiful picture of your mom right here. She looks like she's at work. You know, she's smiling like, I don't want you to take a picture of me. I need you to leave me alone right now. You know? That's what I see.
Well put.
You know, so it's different things like that I'm always looking at.
Awesome, very cool. Wow. So what was I gonna say? Yeah, we actually covered a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But okay, yeah. For example, what was that one movie that you saw that kind of just like, I gotta do this?
That's the one. That's the one. And I posted on Facebook the other day about this.
Oh. Turn around. Tell me what you see.
That's the one, man.
Okay.
I was 6 years old. I was 6 years old, and I was at my grandmother's house in St. Thomas, U.S. Virgin Islands. And
that's a perfect moment for epiphany, right there.
I know, right? Yeah. And the Neverending Story was coming on. HBO had just started.
Wow, HBO, Neverending Story on HBO.
HBO.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know, right? Yeah. And my stepmother looked at me and said, Kahlid, you're going to love this film. And I sat there and I watched it, and my stepmother was to my left. To the left of her was my cousin Roy, and to my right was my dad. And my grandmother's old pink couch, and a big entertainment center that had the TV and pictures of all the grandkids and stuff like that. And I sat there and I watched that movie, and that was the movie that changed everything.
What was it about that movie that made you change it?
The fantasy.
I love it too, so like I want to know what you think.
The fantasy, number one. I've always been a big sci-fi fantasy geek.
Right.
and then the the fact that it was a little boy that was changing the world, that had to save a little girl.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know, but in addition, there's this other little boy that's reading the story, and he's not getting along with his dad. He feels a little bit isolated, and I was always the weird cousin. I'm still the weird cousin. You know, everybody's like, "Why are you dancing with that mop?" You know, one of my cousins caught me doing that once. You know, and I realized because I've always had an artistic side about me. Right. You know, so I kind of knew how that little boy felt about being isolated, and he's reading that story and he's trying to escape. And that's what that movie did for me. It helped me to escape all of that. And it was just so impactful. And then there's this big luck dragon, you know, and I'm like, that is so awesome. You know, so it really tied the knot for me.
Wow.
I was married to film after that.
That movie is the essential nostalgia film for all kids during that era. So I think after that movie I decided, like, I'm gonna just name my firstborn kid Atreyu, boy or girl. I don't care. I don't fucking care. It's gonna be Atreyu. How cool of a name was that? Atreyu.
That is cool. That is a cool name.
Oh boy.
What was the horse's name? Artax? Zartax?
Yeah, Artax.
Artax? Yeah.
Saddest scene ever.
I know, right?
Oh
my God. My lips were quivering.
I posted that online on Facebook, and people were like, why? Why did you do this?
Brutal. It was brutal, man.
Yeah.
And then after the Neverending Story was Labyrinth with Jennifer Connelly.
Ooh.
That was a great one. And, you know, it was different films like that just really started hitting home with me.
So what kind of films do you want to do? Like, I know, like, you want to do everything, but like it seems like those type of influences, like, feels like
I do enjoy sci-fi action. I love dramas. I don't know if it's because I don't think I'm that great of a comedian, but I really enjoy being serious on film. That's my type of thing. Action films, and I'm learning now that action films can be pretty difficult. So it's that's definitely what I want. But the one thing I've learned about acting, there's what you want, there's what the director wants, and there's what the audience wants. If you can get it all in sync, that's great. But sometimes you have to flow with where the job and where the money leads. We want you to be in a comedy because we think you're funny. Yeah. I'm getting paid. I love to act. That's where I need to go. Absolutely. You know. But sometimes, if you don't want to be typecasted, you got to make sure, okay, I'm cutting this off. I gotta stop because I need something to change. And when that happens, you go back to the basics. You learn. You go back to school for acting. You get training or whatnot. You know. You do what you got to do to push yourself in a different direction.
I feel it. I feel the cosmos. Feels so enlightening. It's like I just ate 8 hot dogs. I'm like, I feel the cosmos. Ladies and gentlemen, Kahlid, everyone. Okay, I think that's about it. But is there anything that we can let people know about what you're doing, what they can look out for?
Yes. Although I haven't seen it yet, Kamunu I Guihua is in theaters right now, and I think there's a scene in there with me in it. But I haven't went to see the film yet, so I really don't know. So check it out if there is. Post something for Wilfred here to let him know, hey, that black guy's in the movie.
I'm gonna be like, that's it, I know. Awesome. Yes. And what about Midway Round?
Midway Round is in post production right now, and should be ready by the end of February.
Oh, great! Yes. That's great. So this it's gonna be a good year.
Yeah,
it's definitely gonna be a good year. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I had a great time.
Yes,
that was really fun. And for everyone out there, remember just to join in, like Facebook /My Artist Journey to get into our group and just check out inspirational links and pictures and memes and blah 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 blah. And then just look out for any upcoming events. I think we're gonna have some very interesting, more interesting people coming out to the podcast. And yeah, I love you. I really love you people. You're really nice. And is there maybe what's one thing we should say to these people before we leave?
Go see Les Mis.
Go see Les Mis.
Oh my God, it's so amazing.
Or just turn around. Tell me what you see. That's enough of us. See you later, people.
Take care, y'all.
Bye-bye.